last weekend in June, I've been harvesting rhubarb. This is all horseradish. Thyme is growing through here, wild, and I need to pull those iris up and transplant those. They're getting overgrown. There are flowers here at the end, the echinacea, oregano, more echinacea, and I've started pulling the scapes off of these garlics. Pull those off so that they're the flower heads. Pull those off so that your garlic heads get bigger. You don't want the energy going to the flower. You want it to go to the bulb. Starting to get lots of flowers. A lot of poppies are planted. These are all onions, celery along here. I've let these great spring pollinators into the garden. This is only 3 or 4 seeds, and it gets really big and spreads out well. I've let these radishes here go to seed to save for next year. The kale's growing really well here, and then, all the onions are growing well. Cherry tomatoes here, and the beets are all coming up nicely. Weeding is a chore. This bed was just weeded, but it's a constant chore. Primarily a flower bed here. The lilies will be out soon. A little bit of cilantro here because it gets some nice shade and doesn't bolt as quickly. And I put a zucchini here, an early zucchini here, so I should have some of that soon. The hollyhocks on this side are growing well, but I've developed rust, unfortunately, on this side, so I'm going to have to pull these out. I already cut them back. I'm going to have to pull them out. Hopefully I don't have to pull them all out because there's not a lot you can do about rust. I have some new ones growing here and they haven't got it, so hopefully that stays like that. The beans are coming up. A lot of the beans got eaten, I think, by rabbits, but there's enough coming up here for some dinners, and I'll plant more probably. This is the spinach. It's going to flower. This all grew wild from seed that went spinach that went to seed last year, and you can see there's still new babies sprouting and coming up in here for more. Lots of new babies coming in. I've planted quite a few sunflowers this year. The carrot bed is just coming up. This still needs to be weeded. I haven't had a chance to weed the Brussels sprouts yet. The potato bed is just growing amazing, but we have some potato beetles again, which I have to hand pick out of there. The peppers and the strawberries are growing well. We're getting lots of strawberries in here. So we do 2 or 3 times daily. We come through and check for beetles and larvae and hand pick them off the potatoes. they're pretty resilient to any kind of spray, and we don't like to use anything like that on the garden, so we hand pick everything off of it. Asparagus is all going to flower. Lots of lettuce, arugula planted in here as well. My peonies are almost at the end. They're dying back. Unfortunately, they don't last long. These onions going to flower. They should be blooming soon. Everything's growing really well. This little red onion I bought from the grocery store, and I got it to root, and it's starting to flower. So I'll have to cover it alternatively with these ones so they don't cross-pollinate. Cherry bushes. My rhubarb's dying back. It's been so dry. Thank goodness we got all the rain now, because it really needed it, but it's dying back. The currants are just starting to ripen. We picked those and put them in the freezer for the winter. This bed still needs to be recovered. I don't know. We probably do that next year. This row is all the cabbage has been planted. I want to do my own sauerkraut this year, so we've planted quite a lot of cabbage up through here. With a couple of zucchinis on the end, some cucumbers, and a little flower garden. I like to plant a lot of flowers. My daisies are coming up here with the onions, and there's a few lilies and more lilies in here on the end. Black-eyed Susans may still come up in here, and poppies as well have been planted on the end. That's a lemongrass in there. I put another celery as well. I planted a little bit of basil seed in there, and Thai basil, as well as a few annuals. This cilantro is going to seed, which is good. It always grows wild in the garden, so I like to let it go to seed and then just let it grow wherever it wants to. In this case, the row between these two beds. So kale. I've got a ton of lettuce right now, and it's so beautiful. I gotta eat more salad. Sunflowers. I always plant too much lettuce. Lots of beautiful lettuce growing here. So beautiful. With some purple. This grew wild. I think it's a squash. I don't know if I'm gonna pull it out or not. I haven't decided. So this is the broccoli bed. It needs to be weeded again. And then we've got a few more celery down here. I freeze the celery and use it as soup in soup stock through the winter, so I grow a lot of celery. And a little flower bed on the end here as well. They're just starting to come up. I grew some of these from seed, and then I bought that little pretty yellow one there. It's just an annual. Same here, a few more flowers. I like to try and bring in a lot of pollinators. More cabbage. Again, weeding. The kale here is all going to seed amazingly, and you can just see here all the green seed pods. When these dry, I'll get thousands and thousands of kale seeds. And I've got a few sweet peppers here on the end. We're getting a lot more weeds in this wheat bed because we used on top some compost from our compost pile. and unfortunately there's a lot of seeds in it, but just got to stay at it. And then once we get them all out, it should be done, thankfully. My tomatoes are growing well. I've got to get them staked up though. The stakes are in, but I haven't tied them. I haven't tied any of them yet. So these are larger, like eating tomatoes. Rutgers, vining style, that kind of thing. And then these smaller ones are all bromas for sauce, primarily for sauce. And then I put a lot of onions in this bed as well, if you can see them through the weeds. Berry bushes here. These are all raspberries, and they're just starting to come out. Hopefully they produce well. Right through, all through here is raspberries, and then it turns to blackberries. Looks like some of this got damaged on the end, but you can see there's a lot of blackberries coming out here. And then this used to be all plastic as well. We recovered this bed. Sorry for the shaky camera. We recovered this bed this year, have squash on the end here, and then I think probably corn will go down on the far end. And then we've got lots of gooseberries coming in here, just starting to ripen. Yum. And then there's another type of blackberry we can see flowering here. So that's about it. That's the garden for the last week of June.